Hello, everyone. As everyone gets settled, welcome to the final panel of ICA Plays On. Bonjour. Hi from Paris. I'm jealous. Please eat some pastries for me. A pain au chocolat, s'il vous plaît. Oh, wow. People from all over the world. So everyone, while you're getting settled, like I said, this is the final panel for ICA Plays On. It's been a wonderful couple of days full of some great panelists, great conversations, great discussions, and I know I'm pretty sad to see it come to a close, but you can rewatch all of these videos on our Facebook pages. After the event, Jessica and I will upload these to the YouTube channel. So more and more people are joining us. That's so great. Let's see, Jessica, what am I forgetting? We have a virtual exhibit hall. If you haven't seen that yet, Jessica is very quick with the chat. She will post a link in the chat box really quickly. New Orleans, Oklahoma, Central Michigan, all these cool places. So you could tour the virtual exhibit hall and shop there and visit some of the vendors and see the products that they would have been displaying at Clarinet Fest if it had not been canceled. We also have a shop on Threadless. You could get cool things like this mug, there's water bottles, there's t-shirts, tank tops, anything that our logo could be on. It is there on the Threadless store. I'm sure Jessica posted the link right as I'm finishing that sentence. So we're all glad that you can join us today. And I think that we could go ahead and start by introducing myself. Since I'm the not mic'd person, I'll go ahead and start. You're probably sick of me by now, but my name is Shani Maclay, and I'm the ICA social media coordinator. So I'm really happy to be here today. Jessica and I organized this event, and it's made me so inspired and so happy to see everyone, even if it's just through a computer screen. And today we'll be talking about creating clarinet content online. So earlier I said my name is Shani Maclay. You might be more familiar with my online persona, Shani Clarinet. I have a blog. I'll be sharing some of what I do with that soon, but I'll hand it over to someone else. And everyone, feel free to just jump in, leave anything you want to know, questions, comments in the comment section. One more thing I will mention, if I didn't already mention it, I might have, it's been a long day of panels, is anything that you want Jessica and I to include on our resource list. Please put that in the comments. We are making a list of books, resources, videos, articles, anything like that to send out to everyone after this is over. So on to the next person.
Right, I'll go. I guess I'll go. Hi, my name is Claire. I'm part of Foreplay Clarinet with Gaby. Shani and Stephanie were here today. We've started that group with Gaby originally in 2015, at the end of 2015, and we put our first video on YouTube in 2016. So it's been a couple years now. And yes, and for just myself, I just got my doctorate from the University of Miami for School of Music. In clarinet performance, and I was in California before. So yes, with Gaby at the time. That's it.
Hi, or I don't know if you want us to really go, but I can introduce myself as part of the group. Hi, my name is Gabby Castro. I'm also part of Foreplay Clarinet, which we are as Claire mentioned, we're a clarinet quartet that, we kind of made our presence on YouTube and online as a whole, just to kind of describe our how we kind of started. What was I saying? As Claire mentioned, oh, that's right. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, I'll post that link in there we go, in the little box. So yeah, basically what the whole concept group was to kind of just take pop arrangements. We, as Claire mentioned, we started with a music video of an arrangement of Lean On by Major Lazer. And we kind of wanted to do this thing where we kind of bring our love of pop and popular, I should say, just because we started with pop and electronic music, but we've kind of expanded to other genres of music since then, and just kind of show other people that clarinet, you can play popular music on the clarinet. And as a result, a huge following around that. As of today, we currently have a combined total from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, a combined total of about 41,000 followers all over the world. Our channel has been viewed about 3 million times now on YouTube. So I'd say that we're doing pretty well. And like, as of where we are right now, we're just trying to kind of take what we've been doing and expand it even further. So
well, I'll jump in. My name's Michelle. Sorry about that. My computer is making noise. I'm Michelle Anderson. I'm a professional performer and teacher in the Vancouver, Canada area. But for online presence, I'm really interested in creating educational resources, particularly for amateur adults. So I've had quite an active YouTube channel since 2012. And I also have a lot of experience creating downloadable online courses for adults to self-study. And I've also been doing online clarinet courses with clarinetists from all over the world via Zoom for about 5 years. So I'm dabbling in lots of educational online things.
I'm not sure if we can hear you, Stephanie. Maybe it's just me.
No, I can't hear either. Maybe check the audio settings on your computer.
I just switched to my built-in mic. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm just going to bring things back to the foreplay side. My name is Stephanie Peterson. I also play with foreplay clarinet. I'm the newest member. I've been with the group for, just getting shy of a year now, and I play bass clarinet with them.
Very cool. Should I go next? Okay. So I'm Sean Perrin from the, most people probably know me from the Clarinet podcast. It's an online resource that I started about 5 years ago that's free for clarinet players all around the world. And there's over 100 free episodes now. And actually, I'd say most people here have been featured, except for, we'll have to change the ones who haven't. So, but Foreplay's been on the show, Jenny's been on the show, Michelle recently was on for 2 episodes. So you can check it out for free, download at clarinet.com. And I'm also the online sales and marketing coordinator for a Canadian clarinet brand called Maclay Musical Services. And that's what I do as part of my sort of full-time job now. And I also teach at Mount Royal University here in Calgary, where I live, and do a host of other kind of teaching and freelance playing around the area. So I actually just finished my little YouTube studio here. I'm trying to get more into YouTube, and I just finished this backdrop last night. So I'm really excited to premiere it today and hopefully do more videos in the future from this spot. So thanks for having me on, Jenny.
Okay, I'll jump in. Hi, my name is Seunghee Lee, and I also go by Sunny. And I think my online presence really is through my recordings. I have 5 solo albums that I've been releasing since 2000, and slowly it has to be online. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. And I think over the years, because I've been releasing these recordings, it shows up on search engines. When you look up clarinet music, it comes up. So I guess over the years, I've been building online presence without knowing it. And now that we're in this lockdown COVID time, I think it's so important to talk about creating your online presence, and especially like in the realm of branding, because a lot of people are now wondering what they should be putting online. And I think today's discussion, I'd like to talk about how to brand yourself and how to really put your best foot forward. And it really helps to have a really good foundation starting out. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'll go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Shani Kennedy. I'm a part of the Foreplay Clarinet group. As everyone, Stephanie, Gabby, and Claire said, we make really fun and awesome YouTube videos and pop covers. We've done quite a few recordings as well, so we're really excited to get to talk to you about all of our online adventures.
Great. Thanks so much for everyone introducing themselves. And Jessica, you didn't introduce yourself, so.
I mean, people know who I am, I guess, hopefully by this point, but my name is Jessica Harrie. I'm the Executive Director of Operations for the ICA, and this is Jenny and I's little brainchild, this event, and we're so happy and kind of relieved that we made it to this point. So we survived, but we're so grateful to have you here for this conversation. I know lots of people are looking forward to some pointers on how they can get started creating a brand, creating an outlet for a lot of people using some simple resources like a cappella or even some more advanced techniques. Certainly 4Play has some incredible videography in their videos, so we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And of course, Michelle and Sean, your your work is so vital to the clarinet community, so we're really grateful for your continued efforts in that. So yeah, that's who I am, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'll be communicating with any of you that are watching on Facebook. Please share your comments, and I will bring them into the chat here, and we'll hopefully get some of those questions answered as well.
Yeah, so everyone feel free to share any resources in the comments, share any questions, anything you want us to talk about. I think we could start by talking about advice for anyone that wants to start creating clarinet content online. I know that's something I get asked a lot is, why did you start your blog? Why do you do this? Or how did you do this? And I just did one day. The history of Jenny Clarinet has been my nickname since about 2006 or 2007. That's what all of my friends called me. And so it only seemed natural in 2015 to start a blog by my nickname. Actually, yesterday, Jenny Clarinet turned 5 years old from the 5th anniversary of my first blog post. So we had a nice celebrating with everyone around the world on ICA Plays On. But I guess the advice that I would give for anyone is just do it. It was something that I had thought about a long time before 2015 was to start a blog, because I've always enjoyed writing, and of course I've always enjoyed clarinet, so it seemed only natural to do that. But my biggest regret is not doing that sooner or creating any kind of clarinet content online. I think it's something that's only become more popular recently. In fact, another big regret of mine was when I was doing my undergrad, I created a Facebook page for Jenny Clarinet, and I was sharing status updates on the page of like quick tips and things like that. And I ended up deleting it about after a week because other people in the studio, why would you start that? That's so selfish. And you know, who do you think you are to do that? And now I think it's just commonplace to start a vanity page or a page for your professional persona or anything like that. So for anyone that's wanting to get started in clarinet content, just do it. And the other advice would be to figure out what kind of content you want to create. I'm really proud of this panel because we have podcasts, we have videos, we have blogs, we have every kind of resource that anyone would hope to create one day. So I will turn it over to anyone else for their advice on starting the journey to creating clarinet content.
I'll jump in for sure. Just to kind of go off of what Jenny said, when she brought up this idea when she was starting her blog, like people were saying, who are you to like start a blog about clarinet? A piece of advice I would give, and I want to say this especially for clarinetists and classical musicians in general, just because there's this mindset of like everything has to be perfect when you put something out, and you should be worried about making it perfect. Part of learning how to create great content is just putting it out, getting feedback, and just like with any performance that you do, when you play on stage, you're like, oh, maybe I could have done this different. The same thing applies to when you're creating video content. I mean, we've been making 4Play's been making music videos for like 4 years now, and while we've done a lot of great things even from the very beginning. I mean, our most popular one was the very first music video we did, but even then there's still a lot of things that we wish we would have done differently in like presenting that. So, and we still get a lot of slack, like, oh, this sucks, or like, for as many comments that we get as like, wow, this is an amazing arrangement, we get comments that are like, this is trash, why is this on YouTube? And like, to go to my second point, you can't be afraid about like what other people have to say about your work, because it's not what you do, and like what kind of content you want to make is not always going to be for everyone. There's a saying that I always like keep in the back of my head. It's like, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach on the tree, and there's going to be someone who doesn't like peaches. So just at the end of the day, as long as you're proud of like what you put out and you think it's valuable and provides something to the community, that's all that matters.
Right, I agree. I think that your brand, while it's very important to have a general concept, it is something that still develops over time. So if you're waiting to have the perfect picture of what you want your audience to perceive you as, you're going to be waiting for such a large duration of time that you're coming up with great ideas for things that you could put out there. It is a matter of just knowing, this is the medium I want to use. this is what I want people to see from me and the general ideas of what I want to create. And then you take that constructive criticism from the audience, you find ways to make it more appealing on a broader scale. And from there, you get to refine your ideas too. You get to take that feedback and say, okay, I might not agree with this, but that helps strengthen my ideas in exactly what I do want to do. So it doesn't matter. You just get yourself out there as early as possible, because then you start growing even earlier.
I'll
And
jump
I
in.
think too. Oh, Michelle, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sean. You started talking.
Okay. It's hard to tell with the internet. We don't know who was really first. We'll never know. But yeah, I think too, like, I think the question is content creation. I'm kind of losing it here. What was the question, Jenny? Like, we're talking about, like, what advice to people starting content? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, there. I would say, like, you got to find something that solves a problem, because I notice right now there's a lot of people who have started to create content, and some of them are doing it because they're bored with COVID, for example. Or they're doing it because they want to make money and they see YouTube as like a fast way to make money. You see all these people posting like, oh, get my YouTube channel to 1,000. Let's all like each other's page. And that's not going to create great content, you know? So I would say you have to solve a problem that actually answers something that's actually needed out there in the world, and try to be original with what you're doing, and try to create your own kind of niche and pathway. So that would be sort of my advice to people who are looking to new things. And you might have to think outside the box. Like, 5 years ago when I started podcasting, I don't think there was any such thing. And that's what I was trying to solve, was I wanted a clarinet podcast for clarinet players. And it was solving that sort of issue for people, and it's gone really well from there. But if I'd set out from the beginning with, I want to make money, I want to have advertisers, I want to all these things, and I just focused on that, there would be no podcast. So, and you have to be willing to explore new avenues. Like, I'm currently trying to explore YouTube. It's been really challenging for me. Because it's something I know nothing about. It's I have very limited knowledge. You find, like, lighting, for example, is the hardest part of YouTube. Who would have thought? You know, I thought it would have been many other things, but there's so much to learn no matter where you go. And for me with YouTube too, it's like, well, what problem can I solve in here? And I'm not actually sure yet. So that's what I'm kind of working on going forward. But at least now I have a place to sit and talk about clarinet.
All right. Well, I'll jump in. I think that one of the things I agree with Sean on is it's really important that we create quality content. But even the people on this call, we're all expressing different types of content and in different platforms. And like Jenny said, find the style where your strength is. Some of us are writers, some of us teach, some of us perform. And I think that there could be 100 great educational YouTube clarinet channels kind of doing what I'm doing, but because each of us have our own way of presenting it, it will be of value to people. So I also don't want people to feel shy about sharing their talents if they think somebody's already doing that kind of thing. Because we all know as players, we take lessons from all kinds of great teachers and many teachers, and that we all benefit from that. So what you can do, though, is if you choose your medium, is then educate yourself on how that medium works. So for example, if you do want to have a YouTube channel, learn the basics of lighting. You can learn that on YouTube. YouTube loves it if you get more engagement from people. So find out things like that. Simple things like you asking people questions and saying, hey, put it in the comments box below. If your YouTube video gets lots of comments, then YouTube will promote it more to new viewers. And so there are a whole bunch of things that are relatively easy to learn if one of your goals is to have your online presence be more visible to people. So there's so I would say don't be afraid to start. I know when I look back at the first videos I made, I laugh at them because they're just so amateur compared to what I do now, but they still were earnest, and I had a good message, and people still find value in them. So I think don't be afraid to just start. That's what I'll say.
I think it's really important too to choose the right medium for you. I'm sure every single person on this panel has had some kind of comment, but I have people all the time say, I should start a blog, but I hate writing. Then no, you absolutely should not start a blog. You should find something that you love to do, because it's hard work. I enjoy blogging. It never feels like work. There's that quote, if you find something you love, you never work a day in your life. That's what this is. If you hate writing, don't start a blog. Maybe you prefer videography. Maybe you prefer doing something else, you have to find what makes you excited to do that. I'm sure everyone here has never felt like it's work. You're excited to edit videos. You're excited to create podcasts. You're excited to do all of this. So find something that you don't hate is really important.
Or outsource the work that you don't like about it. I now get someone else to edit the podcast, for example, and it takes a huge amount off my plate. And but that's part about the content too, is that that's now supported by my, for example, Patreon creators. They're helping to allow that to happen, which frees up more time for me to work on more content, right? So you can eventually, if you get to a point where there's a certain task that you just hate doing, you can end up finding ways around that too. But yeah, I totally agree.
And I see some comments about a ring light. You might notice I'm especially well lit. I bought like a $30 ring light last week on Amazon, so I'll find out which kind it was and link that below. So
yeah,
that
I
was
had
a
ordered
really
something,
good.
but it didn't arrive in time. I was kind of upset.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. I was a little bit worried because I know some ring lights can be hundreds of dollars, so I wanted something just to get used to different lighting situations. So I'm sure the members of Foreplay have better lighting recommendations than I will, but I'll give you the link to like my $30 ring light. Let's see, we have a question. Any suggestions on navigating the legal aspects of broadcasting video of music still under copyright?
I'll take that question on just because I have dealt with that, at least on Foreplays, and I'm like the one who's kind of handled that kind of aspect personally. So there technically any covers that you do that are not like your original, unless classical music, that's definitely a lot easier just because there's a majority of that is in public domain. But when it comes to covering pop music, there's a lot of that that's still under, licensing technically is the way to go. Want to do only audio, you need what's called a mechanical license. That's how you get permission to upload covers on like SoundCloud, Spotify, all the streaming services. With video, what you need technically is a sync license. Now, when we first started out, we didn't know any of this stuff about like licenses. We were just like, let's just upload a cover and whatever. So technically, what YouTube does, there's like a little loophole. I've learned this because I the process of like licensing with like a company who manages that between like and stuff like that. So YouTube has what's called an ad agreement, some kind of thing between label. I know it's between Universal, Warner Brothers. I believe they also have one with Sony as well. And because so many people on YouTube in general just upload covers of music on YouTube, and the way they kind of they're like, well, should we take them all down or what should we do? So they have this agreement between the labels that if you upload a song that's covered by Universal, for example, they can either have the option to take your video, or what usually happens is you get ads placed on it. Now, if it's your original arrangement, so for example, all of our arrangements on our YouTube channel are we wrote the arrangements. You can split revenue with the copyright holders, but or at least if you're a YouTube partner. We are a YouTube partner now, but so we can do that. But yeah, so you just will accept that you're gonna have ads on your videos. Now I'm aware that there's some artists and some like tracks that are just like off limits, and if you'll notice if you like search like certain I think like certain Michael Jackson songs you can't do. Don't quote me on that. I don't know, but for sure. But there's some that like you just cannot do a cover of. But that's how it's worked with that. So technically, yes, if you want to do it like the whole legit 100% legal way, you get a sync license, you get a mechanical license. But there, like I said, with our like journey and like figuring this out, there's ways around it. It's just like, and if you do upload and you don't have a license, I mean, you're always taking the risk that it might get taken down, and then you have to accept. I see there's like another,
you get 3 copyright strikes, you're off YouTube, so you have to be careful. But YouTube does handle the licensing for some tracks. Like I have found, for example, every time I publish a podcast episode, I actually have permission from Michael Lowenstern, who recorded the music, but YouTube doesn't know that. So all they do is every time I have content come out, it gets flagged as copyright, but it's not what's called a copyright strike. It's they have a relationship with his label, and then he just gets credit for the ad revenue that's on the videos. So it kind of happens automatically. But yeah, if it was a pop song or something, I would personally try to obtain a license. You can probably do that at, what's it called, Harrie Fox or something like that is the licensing agency in the States.
I'm actually a member of a video game music collective, and we do recordings, and we use a service called Sounddrop. And Sounddrop, basically you tell them, I want to do a cover of this song and I want to publish it and I want to make money off of this. So basically Amazon Music or Spotify. And what they do is they license that song for you, and it costs about $10 per song, depending on the song. And then they will distribute the song for you. They'll put it up on Spotify. They'll put it up on Amazon Music. They'll put it up on Google Play Music, which RIP, I think they're ending that service. So, but yeah, they take care of a lot of the aspects of that for you, because copyright law, as many people have already suggested, is really complex, and you really shouldn't try to do these things without researching it at least a little bit, or at least rely on someone who is an expert in that. And I recommend, I dropped the link for Sounddrop in there. There are other services, other companies that do the same thing. I think you mentioned one, Sean, Harrie Fox Agency. Yeah, certainly you want to get the information, but because some, as Gabby said, there are artists that do not allow their songs to be covered, and some of them are covered by estates. And I'm sure Bernstein is included in that. You have to get multiple types of licenses to cover those pieces, just period. So it's not just popular music. There are classical pieces in the catalog that are not available for recording like that without express permission and licensing.
So I like to jump in on that. So my 2016 album was called Solace, and in there I recorded Over the Rainbow and Villa Lobos and some of the things that are still under copyright. And I didn't know that because I was still in the learning stages. And then I released my albums, my 3 independent albums, through CD Baby, and I got caught in that copyright. They couldn't release it because I needed to show a license, some kind of license that I got through. So I had to search Harrie Fox, and I had to pay, like Gabby said, certain amount, or I think somebody said, and then therefore I got my license, and then I was able to release it. It also goes with like Villa Lobos, and I also arranged Messiaen, the vocalese, and I thought Messiaen was under public domain, but it's still copyrighted. So you have to do your research. And I think Sean mentioned Harrie Fox. Harrie Fox is an amazing website where you could find out anything about copyright. So if you have any questions about if it's under copyright, you go to Harrie Fox and see where you could buy the licensing. And this is for sound recording. And for syncing, that's a whole different area where you also have to get the licensing for that. So please do your homework before you release your videos or your recordings.
I joked when I recorded my album project, because I had to go through Harrie Fox and get licensing for Philip Glass and Chick Corea and stuff. And it was so expensive and so frustrating that I was like, next time I'll just be a composer. I'll write out my own music for my next CD. Jenny?
I was just waiting for anyone. I've been trying not to interrupt people. I was guilty of that as I got used to this webinar format. So I see some questions about licensing. I was just asking Jessica, I don't know if we have any articles in the journal about licensing or copyright, but we'll be looking for some to share in the links. And if anyone watching this has any resources, please feel free to share those. And anyone else watching too, we always accept submissions for the Clarinet Journal. So maybe someone that knows about copyright and licensing, that would be a really great resource for everyone to read. So earlier, Jessica had linked the submissions guideline for our quarterly journal, but we'll link it again. I guess another question to sort of change topics a little bit. Once you start creating Clarinet content, you figure out copyright and licensing so you're not breaking any laws. How do you build an audience? How do you create a schedule where you're consistently creating content? And what advice would you have for sort of like keeping the followers, getting new followers, and building that community?
Do you want to maybe direct to someone, then we can sort of go around?
Or anyone that wants to start, if anyone has any, opinions on that.
I just find we're interrupting ourselves, right?
That's sort of the nature of these calls.
Okay.
If anyone wants to jump in, I could start and give everyone time to collect their thoughts. I know for me, what I do is when I first started out, I was haphazardly publishing blogs whenever I had an idea, and they were semi-consistent, but I really found a growth in my audience when I started publishing them weekly. So a couple of years ago, I set a New Year's resolution for myself to publish one blog post a week, and I found that having that kind of consistency really helped me keep a regular schedule, but also the people that were coming in to read the blog post knew that at some point that, you know, once a week there will be a new blog post. So that's helped me a lot. And then I think just engaging with the community, just something as simple as taking time to reply to comments, every single comment or email or question is something so simple but so overlooked. So that's what I found has really helped me and my blog.
Can I jump in? Yeah. Okay. For us, I think it's a little different with foreplay because like posting every week is not possible at some point because the videos are big. At some point, I think that was 1 or 2 years ago, we have posted actually more often, like more once a month. But it's so, you know, I don't think it was a plus actually because sometimes just spending a lot of time doing a big, you know, production like for a couple months and then posting it. So it really depends on what you do. If you do something every week, that has to be something smaller. It could be. I've also done like some YouTube videos on the Rose Etude, and that was easy to post once a week because then it's one etude a week, and that's fine. But for big music videos like we are doing with foreplay, that doesn't really work. But yes, engaging with the people, I think that's the most important. Foreplay has a lot of young people, so I get a lot of private message, even my personal account and stuff, and answering, maybe not all the time, but answering and feeling, you know, like that makes the difference. So if you really have to engage and maybe, you know, not answer every time, but answer often, or put aside like a time where you like, okay, I'm going to answer people and reply to comments and really engage. That's actually time consuming, but it's also really nice because with foreplay, I think one of the main things that we've done is like when we created this, first when we created it was just for fun and we wanted to put music out there. But at the end, the group has become like really popular for young people, has promoted music, and clarinet has actually made clarinet accessible to non-clarinet people actually. So there's a lot of people that don't play clarinet or might not even like usually classical music will listen to us and makes, oh, I actually like the clarinet. So I think it was really good for that. So we have a very diverse, I guess, fan base a little bit everywhere also in the world. So it's important to just try to communicate, and if they speak different languages, try to, you know, respond a couple words if you can in the language. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to just get, you know, feel involved, have people like, you know, feel like it's a little personal. It has to be a little personal to people. You have to think that. Mm-hmm.
I think too many people as well are too focused on, like, they see these YouTubers, for example, with 10 million subscribers, and they're like, oh, well, I'm not legit unless I have a huge number of subscribers. But one of the best pieces of advice I was told when I was starting out is to try and visualize the people who are watching your content in a room, and how big is that room, you know? So even if only 13 people have watched your video so far, you could fill a small classroom with that, you know? And if it's a couple thousand, like, man, that's actually a fair number of people, right? I had a video I posted in like 2008 or something of this piece called Spiegel and Spiegel by Arvo Pärt. And I think it has like 500,000 views or something now. And I thought about that one day and I was like, man, that's just insane, you know? But not everything does that, of course. But if you can help yourself by visualizing it, that'll make you feel more comfortable with the smaller number of views while you're working on growing it. And I wouldn't be so focused on those numbers either, because, for example, for Clarinet, I mean, I think I've grown it about as big as it can become, because it's very niche. And it's also kind of for the niche of the niche. Like Foreplay was just saying, I think it was Claire, that they're reaching people who aren't clarinet players and who just enjoy the songs and want to watch cool covers. And I mean, no one's listening to Clarinet that's not interested in clarinet. Let's put it that way. Like, I can't imagine why you tune in. So if you really refine your niche, you can get away with a much smaller number of people and even make a reasonable income doing it, if you can find the ways to really target your audience and add value to their lives.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in also, following up on what Sean just said, is, you know, when you're building your brand, like I said, you got to know your audience. You have to know who you are trying to reach. And so in ICA, we have a very wide range of people, clarinetists, young, seasoned, everybody. And and the message that we put out can be a little bit confusing to the younger people because they're still trying to figure out, how to play or, whether they want to go into music. So I think, everything has to come down to individual first, and really have to see for yourself, ask yourself, what do I want to say with my clarinet? And if you're a young person, I think the best thing, the most important thing you should be doing is really practicing and learning your instrument to get to a certain level. And if you have gone into a university, and then you're a music student, and then you're trying to build your career, and then there's that audience there, and then you graduate from school, and then you become an artist, and then you're playing concerts. Then you have more content to put up on the social media and your website. And so what I'm trying to say here is for the younger people, when you see on Instagram, Facebook, there's so much content out there, and you feel like, oh, what should I do to put my content out there? And I think you have to kind of hope, if you're a young person starting out, you kind of have to come back a bit and do the rudimentary studies. We've been talking about in the past talks that you did, Jenny and Jessica. We talked about like the practicing, how to practice, the rudimentary, the exercises. We have to do that, and you should also think about how you want to build yourself. It's like writing a novel about yourself. How do you want to create your life? And you're at a really great place as a young person because you have so many examples out there to look up to, and then you could slowly build. And the people that are already out, graduated long time, it's really about going back and thinking, okay, why did I pick up the clarinet? Without the concerts, who am I? We lose motivations, and so we don't practice for weeks at a time. And this is a really good time for us to really dig deep into our soul to see why did I pick up the clarinet? Without clarinet, who am I? And it's really about our character coming out, our personality coming out through the music. And this is what touches people.
I see some great questions coming in. Let me try to address all of those. There was one earlier about the top 3 ways to promote our content is the first question. I see some questions about monetization of the content. And then I see one about producing content recorded remotely. And anyone that wants to talk about any of those, I'll start by saying that I've been doing a lot of remote recordings with people, and I think it's actually been better for my recording because I wouldn't see these people normally. I've started learning theremin in about the last year and a half, and I did a recording project with my theremin friend from the UK who I've never met in real life. So that's something I definitely would not have done had it not been for the lockdown because I had no plans to travel around the world. I finished another recording project with Latin American clarinetists who I would not have been able to do that with. So I would say absolutely take advantage of learning the video and audio editing skills necessary to produce this kind of content. As for monetization, and the other question was like promoting the content, for me, the best way to promote it is social media. I see so many positives about social media. It's free, it has a global reach. There's so many great ways to reach people that you would have no access to otherwise. I think every single person on this panel is a master of social media, and I think you sort of have to be. And there's so many guides out there and resources and books. My favorite person to just listen to podcasts and every kind of content that he's created is Gary Vee. I linked him earlier, but he's super inspirational. And if you're looking to get started, he's written so many books. I've recently reread some of his, so I'll link those down below. And if anyone wants to jump in and share any thoughts on any of those subjects, they're a little bit jumbled. So feel free to pick and choose any of those you'd like to talk about.
I'll jump in on monetization. If there's anyone listening here who is trying to create some kind of presence online that's going to help their career financially, I think that it can be a really good way to do that. And frankly, for myself, when I started putting up YouTube videos, it was kind of for my students. They would come out of a lesson and say, oh, I wish I could rewatch that. But then I got the idea of sort of creating these various online courses, and I'll be really transparent. I make way more money from my online courses than I do from all my in-person teaching and performing combined, and I do quite a bit of performing. I'm really lucky. And I think the keys to that, I really love what Claire said about make it personal, get to know your community online, and that's by being present. I think for me what works great is doing live things like this, and I will do them for my community. I'll just say, hey, I've got a special guest, we're going to go live, we're going to answer your questions. But sometimes it's just me. I'll say, I'm going to go live for 15 minutes for the next 5 days talking about this one subject, and then I'll take your questions. So if you are going to create a presence to make money, one of my biggest pieces of advice is we don't own any of these social media platforms. I get a lot of people who've discovered me through YouTube. Other people get discovered through Facebook. But the one thing that you can control is your email list. So if you're new to starting an online presence, I really, really recommend you create a good email list, because if Facebook changes their, rhythm, what do they call it, the logarithm, and all of a sudden no one sees you, then you just lose your audience. So one of the things I've done right from the beginning on YouTube is I just invite people to join my community, and then I say, then you get invitations and you get all these free resources. But really care about your community, be personal, be engaged, but to make sure you have email lists, because anything else, it's a little bit outside of your own control.
That's be my number one tip for growing your audience too, is having control over it. And I think that what you just said is super important, Michelle, about Facebook changing. I mean, also consider, what if you change your opinion towards Facebook and you don't want to be on there anymore? I'm personally done. I deleted my everything from Facebook, and I only schedule from a third-party app. I don't use it at all. I'm really sick of the platform, and I didn't take that into account 4 years ago. What happens on there, right? So I only log in to post Clarinet stuff, and I'm off there. But the email list, you have what's called permission marketing, and there's a book by someone, maybe it's Seth Godin, about permission marketing. And basically what this means is a podcast is a type of permission marketing platform. You're in someone's ears and they are choosing to listen to you. So what you're talking to them about, or even marketing to them, they've given you permission to experience and listen, and they want to hear from that, right? So that's, in my opinion, permission marketing is the best way to market something. You want to get people in some way that they have consented, maybe is the word, to receive your stuff, and then you can feel totally good about providing that to them, right? Ways not to market, like I saw someone above asking about, I can't remember if it was crowdfunding or Patreon or something.
Patreon.
There's multiple ways to Patreon. Yeah. Who else is using Patreon here? Is anyone else? Is it just me? Does Foreplay have Patreon?
We did it, but we didn't continue really.
Patreon is extremely hard. Don't start any of these things if it's to create revenue. I think it's you have to focus on problem solving. And even for me, the Patreon, it's going okay, I guess. It could be going a lot better. But my problem that I solve for people on Patreon is if you don't want to have ads on the show and you want to get a little more bonus content, then you can join Patreon. And a certain number of people choose to do that. But I mean, I'm still waiting after 4 years of Patreon to hit 75 backers. So it's a lot of effort, and you need to be careful with a platform like that, because the more time you spend on your bonus content, creating things, the less time you have to produce your core content and practice and live your life even, so you have to be careful that you don't create 25,000 things you need to do just to try and make $1 a month off someone on Patreon, so anyway, I hope that helps. But the email list is number one. So one last thing, I have a store on Clarinet as well, where you can buy t-shirts and stuff. Now it recently closed because I wanted to switch platforms and then a bunch of different stuff, but I just launched it today actually again. It's called clarinetshirts.com now. But you can check that out. But this is going to be a fun way for people to purchase things that I hope add value to their lives and they like and kind of find funny or whatever. And but it's one other way to kind of monetize things. But the nice thing is that as people interact with me in the podcast, they get the free podcast episodes in their email. It gives me permission to tell them about these things. So instead of a totally cold launch for clarinetshirts.com, I can send an email on Monday to 3,000 people. And you want to build your audience like it's like tending to a garden, and you have all these people you're bringing along for a tour of your garden, if you will. Randy said he was here for my analogy, so I hope you like that one, Randy.
I see a question for Foreplay Clarinet. Do you market your arrangements? And if so, how do you do it?
That's a good question.
So I don't know if he's necessarily referencing like our video arrangements or just like the actual arrangements in general, but YouTube is our primary way that we market our arrangements, just because, and I think that's what's a really awesome thing about video is that, you know, a lot of people are wondering, well, how do people discover me? How do people find me? And you know, it's, you know, anyone can just make a recording of themselves and upload it to SoundCloud or Spotify and be like, hey, look, I recorded, but what's going to draw them in? And nowadays, so many people are like visual consumers. They consume by video. And so, you know, YouTube, talking about the actual arrangements for others to play. Okay, I will get to that in a second. But I still will stand by the fact that video is a great way to advertise them, just because not only do they get to hear how cool it is, but it's like a visual interpretation of what, you know, what we put on.
I think he means like, can you buy the sheet music?
Yeah, I was gonna address that next, but I mean,
Oh,
even
okay.
still, like the video part, like first helps to address, like, hey, this is our arrangement of Lean On, for example. Now with the public, similar of a process to getting the mechanical and sync licensing. Again, if it's not your original music, you have to get permission to publish. Now, the problem that we, you know, and we've gotten lots of people who are like, hey, I hear like sheet music. And I think the biggest problem that we're facing right now, and it's something that we are personally working on, because eventually at some point we want to publish all our original arrangements. The issue at hand, though, is just, again, coming with the licensing. If you don't have the license, you can't sell it. You can't technically, you can't even, I mean, if you want to distribute it for free, I think you might be able to get away with that. But again, you cannot profit off of your arrangements unless you get permission from publishing companies. And the even more complicated aspect of that is, it's not like a mechanical or a sync license saying, oh, can we get permission to use your song for our arrangement in this video? You have to go to all the different publishing companies. And for some songs, there can be like 4, 5, 10 publishing companies. And if one of them says no, you are not allowed to sell it, point blank, period. So that's just like the problem we're having to like go through, like figure out which songs to start with first. That'll be easier. Like they only have one. And then as long as you get permission from them, then you can go ahead and sell it. But yeah, that's like an issue that you have to, if you're considering selling your arrangement, that's a thing. There's also certain Note Flight and Sheet Music Plus that you can, you know, they have the licenses, but the problem with that is, and which we feel like we've like decided it's not worth it for us to go through these services, because the composers only get 10% of what is made off of that. And, you know, if you have if you have a really amazing arrangement and you feel like it's worth an amount, I mean, I haven't used the Sheet Music Plus one personally. I don't know if you get to set a price for that, but for the amount that you make off of those services, I just think it's a disservice to the people who are actually taking the time to arrange the work. So that's been our experience with that.
And maybe Jessica and I have been talking about like future subjects and panels that we want to do, because we want to make these kinds of panels more regular. I don't want anyone watching to get in trouble with licensing or copyright laws, because it's a very, very dense subject. So maybe we can find publishers or anything like that and have an entire panel on this, because it seems to be very interesting to people. And I think we can maybe work on that and get, you know, someone that can help answer all of the specific questions we have on that. Anyone else care to chime in on monetizing your site, your content? Maybe if anyone feels comfortable sharing like how they have made money, you don't have to list any amount or anything, but how it's possible to make a career out of publishing content.
So I, like I said, I did recordings, and I did 3 full albums of arrangements, transcriptions based on like Hidden Treasure. My 3rd album is all mostly opera arias, which is all under public domain. And so many people have emailed me about, oh, how do I play O mio Bambino? Where can I get Nessun Dorma? And all of us, we just get it on IMSLP because it's a public domain. But for some people, they like to have a clarinet version, something that's already transcribed. And so I decided to get to work. And so all the transcriptions that I did for the Hidden Treasures project, I made sheet music. And thankfully, it's all under public domain. And once it's public domain, it's public domain. So anybody, you could write sheet music, you could arrange different, and you could upload it. And I have several, I have a full book that I released on Hidden Treasures. And nowadays, because it's so hard to get, buy a book and have a thick book in your hand, people like to download on PDF file. So I've started uploading on Sheet Music Plus. And I'm just surprised that so many people just download it. And I'm like, well, you could do this yourself, but people like to have it presented, already made. It's like I said many times to other people, it's like going to a restaurant. You could make salad at home, you could make spaghetti at home, but it's nice to be presented, all made, presented to you. So believe it or not, I make a lot on sheet music, on the opera arias that I transcribe for clarinet and piano. And when I released my album back in 2013, I didn't have video clips. I didn't think to have a video to go along with each song. And I kind of missed out on that, but that's okay, because now it's like, oh my God, I have so much time, I could make some videos. And so I've been making these little 30-second videos and upload it to Instagram. I have a clarinet sheet music Instagram, and just 30 seconds of here's a PDF here, you could buy it. And people have been reaching out and downloading, and I'm just like, wow, this is really fascinating. And I just like to share with people that if you have an arrangement that's in the public domain, you can make your own arrangement and you could upload it to Sheet Music Plus, or you could sell it on your own website and people would buy it.
There was a question a while ago about what was it? Something about Patreon and money. What do you do while you're waiting for your content to become monetized or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe how you balance buying the equipment necessary to make good content and getting money from that.
Yeah,
content.
I think a lot of things require much less than you think. Even when I started the podcast, I was making obviously nothing off of it. It was just an idea, and I think that you have to have that first. If it's not a thing, if you build it, people will just come. What is that movie? About the baseball field or whatever. Yeah, I found that with my album project. For example, I used to think when I was a kid, anyone who has an album has totally made it. And it was my lifelong goal to record an album. So I did my whole work. I got my grant. I got my licenses. I arranged the pieces. I went to the studio. I recorded. I spent hundreds of hours in this thing and released it. And it was kind of you could hear the crickets everywhere I went about it, and I don't know what to do with the hundreds of CDs that no one wants because they don't have CD players anymore. So, it's not a you build it, they will come kind of thing. You have to market it. And that was before I had any of this kind of neat stuff going on. So I had no idea how to market it. But you think if you do something, people will just care. And the truth and the hard matter is that no one cares unless you can find a way to get it to them. Right. So I think that the real thing a lot of people are missing on is how to build the email list, like Michelle was talking about. Because then you can slowly build a community of people who care, and eventually you can find ways to permission market to those people, and maybe you can find ways to add value to their life by selling them a clarinet course that you've put together on something, or a Patreon for your podcast, or shirts or whatever, whatever you have to offer, you can find a way to get that to them. But it's not going to be any kind of quick process. And I strongly think that if you go into it with that mindset of I need to make money, this is my way, I don't know that it's going to work. And that's not to be, I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but I think it would be really, really a disservice to say that it would help to think that way. Mm-hmm. I think you really have to focus on problem solving and building an audience. And if you can do that and convert a certain percentage of people to some sort of sale, then you're going to be much better off than trying to hard sell everyone on, this is my CD, take my CD, take my CD.
If I can jump in on that, I think, yes, for us when we started the group, but in general, you have to be passionate about what you do. And I think the money might come, but it should not be like the first reason for sure. So, you know, like you do your things, and then progressively actually it's probably going to be profitable at some point if you make the right choices, but you cannot count on making a lot of money. We have a lot of views on YouTube, and I'm not going to say we make a lot of money out of that, because we do a lot of covers, so we share a lot of revenues or just with ads and stuff. So, I mean, you cannot live out of that, you know. It's a plus, but it's not like a full revenue. So, you know, there's people who make millions on YouTube, but it's not our case, you know. So maybe you're not with Clarinet because you need like not 2-3 million views, you need 10 million views on all your videos. So you have to think about that. After, there was a question that I saw of like, how do you balance the cost of like creating videos, you know, with like, you know, the making it. For us, you know, I think, and that's one thing we did, like we did a presentation at NAMM this year with Gaby actually about that. And one of the main things actually to collaborate with people. I think we don't think about that enough, but there's a lot of people who want experience. They might have the material, you might have something. And that's how we created our video. We had a group for Play Clarinet at school, and it was cool. And we had thought of doing that kind of like, you know, different type of covers. And so we actually had, for the first video, it was one of our friends that arranged the song that is doing so well now. And then another friend that was a saxophonist, the other one was actually a composer, but like they just like the one who's the saxophonist, he did the music video, the video part actually. So, you know, for that first video, we just collaborated, we didn't pay anyone, it's just friends, like a thing between friends. Then after it changed a little bit because we learned to do a lot of things ourselves. We all learned to do different things. My brother, who's a dancer, was very different, but actually learned to do music videos, like he took like classes at UCLA to learn how to do videos, and has been working with us. We are lucky that Shani also has a brother who has done like a lot of music production. So that was easy in our surrounding, but there's also a lot of people that actually want experience, that want to be part of something, and then they can, you know, everyone can win pretty much. So yeah, even if you start just your YouTube channel, maybe you could collaborate with someone who might have more equipment than you, just because they just have it, and then you do something together, or they just get, you know, some kind of experience out of your own experience. You know, there's always ways. I don't think for us, foreplay has been expensive. It's been a lot of fun, and we've always found ways. Also, we live in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of people that are in the art that want experience, so that helps. But still, there's always people. So try to collaborate. If you really love what you're doing, there's going to be people, I think, that would be interested to participate.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it kind of goes back to the promotion side of things. You have to kind of be willing to step outside of the box and just go for revenue or any sort of money, whether it's income or scholarships or whatever. You can't just focus on just, oh, I'm going to, you know, post a picture and then bam, I'm going to get a bunch of money, because we all know that's not realistic. I know for me, before I became a member of Foreplay Clarinet, I would, in any circumstance, whatever it was, if I was at the mechanics, if I was in my history class, I made sure that people knew that I played clarinet and that I loved clarinet. When I was in college, I did a bunch of pageants for like Miss America and Miss USA and stuff like that. And they knew me as the clarinet girl. You know, no matter where I went, it was always about clarinet. And I think whatever you're going to intend to do online, the best way I know is through word of mouth. Whenever you meet someone, just talk about it, you know, just build a genuine connection with them and let them know, you know, what you're involved in, what you're about. Chances are, if they, you know, are interested in what you're saying, they're going to follow up. They're going to want to look up your content online. And then through that, they'll, you know, start passing it on, because you never know, you know, who you're next to, who you can be talking to, and what connections that they have.
That's really good advice. I'm seeing some more tech questions right now, so maybe we could get into the fun portion. Maybe it's the portion everyone's been waiting on, the equipment people here. I know usually in every clarinet panel, what mouthpiece, what reed, what clarinet, but in this one, maybe what software, what anything, what programs, what tools, what equipment do you use to create the content? So if anyone wants to start with that.
I'll jump in to start, just because I know Foreplay, we're very video, it's a very tech heavy like subject. So just because I also saw the question about like recording outside of a studio. So we all are, for our like audio recordings, we edit in Logic Pro X. That's, I mean, I personally work off of a Mac, so Logic works well in that. But you know, I know other people use Pro Tools. Ableton is also a really popular one in the music industry. So those three, those are really high quality ones. I mean, if you don't have, you know, if you're short on cash, you don't have like, you just need to use the free software. I know Mac, you have GarageBand, and that's essentially a beginner version of Logic Pro X. So anything you kind of do in GarageBand is essentially going to be eventually, if you're going to look to like up level that to the next step. With like recording stuff, I feel like I'm comfortable saying this because we're all clarinetists. Do your research about which microphones do best for clarinet. For example, in my own research, I found that small condenser mics work really well for at least B-flat clarinet. I know, Stephanie, you have like a larger condensed microphone that's, you know, bass clarinet, you know, it has a bigger sound. So if you play like auxiliary instruments, you have to consider that. I just saw Jenny mention the Shure MD88. That's a really good microphone for recording on iPhone. And especially, again, if you don't have like any fancy camera, like my advice to people, because I also run like a music video education channel called Musicians Prime, and I teach musicians about this. The best equipment that you have. So if all you have is your phone, and like, especially if you have an iPhone, it has like a great camera. So like, honestly, some better than like some DSLR cameras out there. So like, just use whatever you like. Just if you only have your phone, GarageBand, and like a really good microphone, like that's really good. Oh, what my educational channel is called Musicians Prime. I'll link that in the thing after. But with video editing, there's also, you know, iMovie is a free editing software on most iPhones. On Mac products, let's see, I don't know I know Windows Movie Maker, people use that on their like ones. I don't know, I'm not as well versed in that, but I personally use Final Cut Pro. Adobe Premiere, our personal video editor, uses Adobe Premiere to edit their videos. I saw DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is also a really good one. Final Cut Pro is what I personally use to edit my videos on. I think, again, and if you use iMovie is just like the beginner version of Final Cut Pro. So if you are thinking about leveling up later on, that's a really good software to start with. And what I really like about the
Gabby, I hate to interrupt. Could everyone mute your
yeah.
microphone? I hear someone. Let's see. Let's make sure everyone's muted. I hear two Gabbys. I think someone playing.
I don't hear two.
I don't hear. Oh, okay.
It was just me. This is what you get for sitting in front of a computer for 3 days. I was trying to link it. I'm just going a little bit, you know, crazy after seeing all these videos. Sorry to interrupt. Continue. Sorry, Gabby.
Oh, you're all good. What I was just gonna finish off with what I really like about using iMovie and Final Cut Pro is they're pretty intuitive. So it's like when you want to find to use on the software, it's pretty easy to find. And yeah, just on that note, you know, kind of circling back to that very first question, like what is like your advice for starting out? Get other skills that are not music related. So like for us, it's all about video and recording skills. And I'm sure, you know, Sean, when he was like clarinet, I mean, I know you outsource your podcast stuff to someone else now, but I'm sure you had to get really good at editing audio for that. So like just getting other skills, like what it depends on what you want to do. But if you want to do something that's like tech related, like getting basic video editing skills and audio editing skills, I think is like really important.
Just real quick, I have a podcast episode about exactly this, which Mike kind of choose, and it's actually with a recording engineer who is great. And it's episode 78. So if you go to clarinet.com/78, I just noticed the episode player there is broken, but I'll fix that later. And you can also just check it out on iTunes or whatever. But while I'm talking, then I'll stop and let someone else go. But I think the real question to ask is, what's your budget? Do you have $200 to spend, or do you have $10,000 to spend? Because there's a microphone for both. So I remember when I recorded my album, I sat down and the guy told me, there's $35,000 of microphones in front of you. And I was like, wow, no pressure, you know? And but you don't need that at home. Like the Shure MV88, that's what I used to record all my YouTube videos with. And there's better options, sure, but they cost a lot more. They take a lot more time and a lot more fuss. It's quick and easy and does the job for me.
Yeah, somebody asked a question about recording remotely. I know the four of us girls were already, like, throughout the normal year before the pandemic, we were already pretty far spread apart. Claire was in Florida, Gabby is near me, but Stephanie was in Minnesota. And so what we've been doing lately is just, you know, Gabby will send us an arrangement, we'll get the metronome markings, we'll record it ourselves, and then she'll brilliantly put it all together. And I'm always excited to see it on Instagram, like, oh, it actually sounded really cool. But I'm also a music director of a high school, and I know if you're also a teacher, you know, that's kind of your job now, is to put all these types of videos from different students all together. So that can be a huge challenge, especially if you're, one of the things I'll be doing this summer is a music camp. So we're all pretty much going to be doing these, you know, type of Zoom meetings, but with, you know, smaller kids. So that can be kind of a challenge as well. I noticed that with my own husband, he does a lot of online teaching for just private lessons, and the teacher setup will have all these mega mics and these beautiful, you know, lighting and cameras and all this crazy stuff. And then the kid will just be like, you know, phasing in and out. You can't tell what they're playing at all. You're just like, sounds great. Yeah, keep it up. Keep practicing. So, you know, I think also if you do have students, try to educate them as well on, you know, good equipment to get, because, you know, that's just where we're headed in this day and age. Everything is video. Everything. You're always on your phone. You're always looking at it. If something's not moving, then you're just looking for the next thing to look at that is moving. So, you know, it's always a great investment, no matter how much it costs. Like Sean said, make sure that you can actually afford it. You know, don't, you know, go without eating just to get a microphone. But make sure whatever you do have, try to also look for that resale value. You don't want to get something that's too cheap that no one else is going to want because you got it from the 99-cent store. But make sure you have something that, you know, is going to work for you. Number one, is good quality, and something that, you know, is going to last for the long term.
I would consider the medium too as for what you're doing. I mean, one of the reasons with podcasting that I'm not overly concerned about making sure everyone uses a $50,000 microphone is because it's just consumable content. Like someone listens once and that's kind of it. This isn't my, you know, my album that I hope will be, you know, listened to every moment with a fine tooth comb, or something like that. So consider what the medium is. Like if even a CD project or a recording project, if it's going on YouTube, again, I'm not sure that YouTube broadcasts, you know, high resolution lossless audio. I'm sure you'll be okay with the Shure microphone if it lets you actually get the message out there. If you're letting technology stop you from getting your message out there, that's a big problem, right? So it's better to have, I think Michelle was saying this when I had her on the podcast actually, but maybe that's where I got it from, but it's better to have content out there that's not, you know, as perfect as you want it than to have no content, you know?
And that's a really good advice for everyone doing videos. Maybe we could talk a little bit about websites. I'm probably really biased in this, but Sunny and Michelle, both of you, all of us have really wonderful websites, but I feel like maybe well, Michelle, you do wonderful videos too, so you sort of like do both worlds, but maybe we could talk a little bit about websites if someone's looking to create a place for all of their content. So any website recommendations? I could start. I use WordPress and I use GoDaddy for my hosting, so I'll type those in while someone else wants to answer.
I'll just say real quick. I mean, I think there's so many artist websites. We were talking a little bit about branding earlier. I think for me, it's so funny because Clarinet has become so much my brand that although I still own my domains, I haven't had a personal website for a while, which is something I should probably work on. But too many people's websites, there's no reason for you to go there. Like, how many times have you actually gone to an artist's website and just read their bio with, you know, great interest, and you return there every week to do the same thing. That doesn't happen. You know, no one goes to your website to read your bio 300 times a year, but people log into, you know, Jenny Clarinet's website every week to check the blog posts, or Michelle's page to see what new videos she has. I mean, so you have to have something there, and it doesn't even need to be, you know, a you know, fully produced 150 episodes of a podcast, but like there should be something to draw people in to learn about your concerts, learn about your art, you know, to do something. So have some kind of actionable thing that people can do while they're there, and try to collect email addresses and build an audience with people, and build a relationship. Don't just have a website where you throw up a nice picture and a bio and hope it'll turn into a great brand. I mean, that's not going to really do anything, right?
Actually, that's why I created the blog. Like I said earlier, I've always enjoyed writing, but I was thinking about when I designed my own personal website, I thought, what will make people come back? Because I'm the same as I'm sure all of you are, where your friend posts a new website, check out my website, you read it once, and then you probably never, ever go back. The only exception might be people who have websites with like upcoming performances. And even then, I found that most people don't update those regularly. So the blog was my solution, but why do people want to return to your channel, to your website, to your social media, to your whatever platform?
I know Sunny has so much great advice on how to make things look beautiful, but if someone out there doesn't have a personal website, it's so easy to do these days. There are so many companies that kind of give you the templates, and all you need to do is just, you know, with a few clicks of a button, personalize it. I think there's one called Wix that I think you can do it for free, and then just for paying a small amount, you can update. So it kind of depends what platform you want to go down. But I also think if you're wanting to get an email list, a good way to get people interested is just we've all signed, I'm sure we've all joined some email list for something like this, where you have something of value. You know, it could be the top 5 clarinet warm-up things that would be really helpful to you. If you want to get that, you know, put your email here and then I'll send it to you, and you can have a system that automatically sends that back to people. And you have to be transparent. Like, if your intention is then to put them on your email list, then say, oh, and by filling this out, you're also joining my community. I send out trainings every 2 weeks or whatever it is, and you can unsubscribe at any time if it's not a good fit. But I think it's so easy nowadays to create a website that don't let that hold you back. Just kind of Google create your own website and you'll find some good sources for it.
Yeah, so
sorry, go ahead, Sunny.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Very good points. Earlier in May, Michelle started this. I think she started the first online festival back in early May, and she asked me to talk about, you know, a website and personal branding, and I came up with a slide presentation using Canva and all that. And yeah, I mean, I think I said that it's not for everybody, and not everybody has enough content to put on the website, and it's expensive to keep the website. However, I think that in this day and age, everybody exists in a link. Like, if you don't have a link, you don't exist, basically. So that's my point in having a online presence. And nowadays, you could have like a one-page website, like About Me or Linktree. If it's just a one-page picture, bio, and link to a video or maybe upcoming events, I think that's most people just need that, just so that it's like a business card in a link. So basically, you could circulate that, put it at the bottom of your email, just so that people can look at your picture, see how you play a video or something like that, so that they could relate to you, you know, online. And, you know, like I said, like, there's not enough, some people don't have enough material to put on there, and it's a lot of work to keep up the website. So I advise for most of them, instead of spending, you know, extra amount of money to get the website, I really advise everyone to get one page, like About Me, create About Me page, or Linktree. I find that very useful for up and coming young musicians.
Yeah, and to kind of clarify what I said, I mean, I was more referring to people who are creating content. Like, if there's no content or it's not updated frequently or whatever, there's no point. But I don't want to dissuade anyone from making a business card type website, because just like she said, if you're not online, you kind of don't exist. So you do need to have a way to get people to, or to send people. But if you want to find a way to make them return, I definitely think that you want to think about ways to do that as well. But you know, as a business card, a website can be very powerful. You can link to people you've worked with and show kind of testimonials about, let's say you're a teacher, ask your students for some testimonials. And on your teaching page, don't make it all about you and your credentials. You know, what do your students have to say? What have your students done? What can you expect to learn from studying with you? You know, those are big questions that, you know, is someone in marketing might ask. Like, what does the customer want? You know, when you go up to McDonald's drive-through, you're not like, did you know we've served, you know, the president of the United States burgers, and we also served the guy from whatever. It's like, okay, great, but what can you serve me? Can I see a menu? Like, you know, at the time, you're not really interested in what everyone else ate. You're hungry for lunch, right? So there we go. Another analogy. Cheeseburgers reaching a new low.
These famous Sean analogies. Maybe you should start some content about your analogies.
There's a YouTube video coming. My 10 best analogies for clarinet. I just have to figure out what they are.
I can't wait for that. Maybe the McDonald's one. I like that.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
Let's see. Have we missed any questions? I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping up with all the chats, comments. Let's see. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? Anything related to creating clarinet content, advice, equipment, monetization, promoting it, maintaining the audience, anything at all?
I would just also mention social media suite services. If you guys are familiar with Buffer or any other types of companies that allow you to directly post on all of your platforms, to schedule posts. It really helps to, if you have a few minutes in a single day, to schedule content out ahead of time so that you don't have to sit there and be like, did I post something on Tuesday or did I get something scheduled this week? You can actually just put aside a day and schedule content to go out every single day that you would like during the week, and it sort of takes it away, like hands off, and you know that it's going to go out, and then you can check on interactions and things like that. And I think Buffer is free for most things, and you can do Twitter and Facebook and Instagram all at the same time. I mean, they may even have LinkedIn, though I don't know how many people actively use LinkedIn. I know they sent me an email to say that I had 47 new connections, and I don't know who they are. So
Yeah,
later.com is another good one.
Later.com.
Yeah, that's what I use. And as someone who's like, if you're trying to limit your social media usage too, or your efficiency on social media, like I found I'd log in to make Facebook posts for the week, and you have to do them on Facebook, then you have to do it on Instagram. It's actually really cumbersome. And every time that little thing turns red in the corner, you're like, oh my God, what just happened? And so you're trying to schedule posts, and you're constantly distracted by the fact that someone liked something from 4 years ago. And so it's just pretty distracting. But yeah, later.com is really good. And you can schedule, like, I think it's 8 profiles at once, and you can easily switch between them all. And it's, I think it's $10 a month, but it's absolutely worth it.
I think that is something important if anyone wants to talk about creating a content calendar. I know that's something I do. I might be the most low-tech person on this panel. I still do like an actual like pencil and paper calendar. Maybe I'm just very old-fashioned in that regard. But I try and plan out everything that I want to post for the month, and that helps keep me organized. Something else may be a potential problem with all of these planning apps and websites, something that I've been reading more and more about with Gary Vee, is creating original content for each platform. I remember now someone earlier had asked about TikTok. So I think we all know that there's a certain demographic for TikTok, for Instagram, for Facebook. So if you post the same content on all of the platforms, you might not reach the same audience. So you might be hurting yourself and your brand if you do that. So if anyone wants to weigh in on that, I'd be interested in hearing what you all think.
I think that you can go down a rabbit hole of time really quickly if you try and publish on every social media platform, especially when you're just getting started. So some of the experts that I follow really recommend pick one that you're really comfortable with, that you use yourself, or that suits your content style well. And once you're established there, then you can always go to the other platforms. But you can, you have other things to do in your life too. You could easily make promoting yourself on social media a full-time job, and most of us have other things that we want to do. So I would just say find balance. I think it's okay to really have a deep presence on one platform and find your followers there, and then you can expand once that's up and rolling.
Yeah, I think
you might notice even, oh sorry, go ahead, Shani.
Oh, it's okay. I think what Michelle said was 1,000% correct. You have to know, who you are and your age demographic, as well as who's watching you. I know, for Foreplay Clarinet, we get a lot of students, kids that are just now starting clarinet, who see our ligatures. They're like, your ligature is backwards. Why doesn't it look like my ligature? You must be doing it wrong. It's like, no, this is what they look like now. But, you have to know and cater kind of to those people of, the ones that are actually, interacting with your platform. So if you are like on Instagram, because that's your, where all of your, that's kind of like the front door to leading them to whatever your recordings are or your music videos are. You have to kind of, interact with them, and you can ask them questions too. We do tons of posts where it's like, tell us your opinion on this, or what do you think about that? Or, just inviting them to interact with us and, kind of, stay in whatever little device that they have. So that's just kind of what we've done for Foreplay.
I agree. I think that you've got to stick to platforms that you're good at and you're interested in. And I like the one comment though, Daniel said, make sure you grab all the accounts that you can on the new platform so you have your name or whatever. I haven't bothered with that and I've regretted it sometimes, but I mean, I don't know if I'm just getting older or if I'm just too busy, but like I didn't even know what TikTok was until like a week ago. And I can tell you there will be no Clarinet content coming for TikTok. So
that's disappointing, Sean. I'm sad to hear that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, but I just don't, I hate to say it, but I just don't care. Like I'm not interested at all. I don't even have an account. I've only seen it from other videos that I saw on YouTube, and I was like, what is that? It's so weird. But even new features as they become available. I was talking to Laura Clarinetist on the podcast, and she's a big Instagrammer, and she's all about, trying to, adapt to the new technology as it comes out. And although there is some point to that, there's also a point where, like for me, I'm just not interested in Instagram stories. I tried it, and instead of awkwardly creating weird moments that no one wants to be a part of, I just stopped. It's like, this is not for me. I'd rather create these hour-long conversations, and if people want to tune in, great. But I'm not going to try and force a square peg into a round hole, right? I mean, I don't think I'm going to do a great job advertising an hour-long conversation about mouthpiece hygiene on TikTok. I don't know if it's going to fit in, right? Maybe I'm just not creative enough. But
down to see that.
Yeah, maybe there's a way.
Maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's about the content necessarily as the people. That was something that Gary Vee sort of made me realize is even like 10 or 20 years ago, the lives of like influencers or celebrities or famous people, they were so foreign to us. We don't know much about them, and now we know what they eat, when they wake up, where they are, what they're doing, what they think, what they wear, everything about them. And I think people are just naturally nosy and curious. So I think that's really the power of social media. I know I'm probably not the only one here that's nosy, and I'm going to go on all your Instagram stories later and see what you're up to and what you're eating and what you're doing the rest of the day. So I think maybe there's the magic there, is feeling a real connection and not just like, here's this clarinet content, but Jenny drinks coffee too much, or like Jenny's a crazy cat lady or something, and more about the people creating it. And I think it makes it feel a lot more meaningful.
I think the only people who can get away with success on all platforms, by the way, are famous people. Like if you know of a movie star or something, I mean, they instantly have a following just by opening an account. But most people aren't like that. And even for me, like I tried Twitter and stuff. I just don't like Twitter. It's another one. I just don't really like Twitter. So I've never really pitched in on there. But you see these people, you'll notice people actually. Let's say there's a guy on YouTube who has 25 million Facebook followers, guy on YouTube with subscribers. Go to his Instagram account. It's like 10,000 probably. These people normally have trouble building the same level on each platform, and they start to just have it as just because, but they're normally only successful in the one thing they focus on. I think the interesting thing about this panel is all of us here are kind of doing that. We've got blogger, podcaster, videos, covers, and albums, and all these things, and you can spread yourself way too thin, and there's only so many hours in a day, right?
I'm glad all of us are doing this separately, and we can sort of brainstorm and combine our powers, because I think if any one of us tried to do everything that we're doing collectively, I don't think it would be well for that one person trying to do it all.
I think he mentions TikTok. Like, okay, so I'll just be honest. I have an Instagram for my dog because I have a corgi and I'm obsessed with my dog. And I wanted to learn more about TikTok because I'd seen so many videos, and I'm not going to lie, I laughed at a lot of them. I thought they were funny. And I just wanted to learn more about what that whole, you know, I don't know what that whole, there's a word that I'm missing, but anyway, that whole group of people are doing there. What are they doing, and why is it so popular? Why is it exploding? And many of you may remember a social media platform called Vine, and Vine is basically the same thing, and they're creating video moments. And some of what Instagram stories and Facebook stories is trying to achieve is that small 90-second moment. And a lot of people on TikTok, I've noticed that it is just regenerating content using a meme and memeing about a lot of different things. And so that's a whole nother conversation, but I think there's room for that kind of content for sure. And it definitely, absolutely helps you grow your brand if you can become familiar with it. Because, you know, when people got tired of Facebook and they went to Instagram because they just wanted to see perfect depictions of life, basically, because Facebook became a place where people started dumping all of their problems. And then they moved to Instagram to show their pictures of their food and their travel and their children. And then people on Instagram were like, this is boring, I want videos. And then they moved to TikTok and started creating video content of just humor, because humor was missing in a lot of ways. So I think really Twitch is also, Daniel mentions Twitch. My husband is a video game streamer. I'll just admit that. He works for a company and does video game streaming, and that the community on Twitch is very different. People are looking for ways to connect, maybe people who are socially introverted and don't want to go out and meet people. And it's about generating community. And so I think we can boil all of what we've talked about today back down to that same point: is how do you create content that connects with people? And as clarinetists, how do we reach people with our music, right? And how do we grow as musicians, right? And I think you can do all of those things through all of these different platforms, and we can certainly learn from each other. We can learn from Sean, who's had an incredibly successful podcast. We can learn from Michelle, who's captivated audiences of all age and difficulty and ability levels with her group, Clarinet Mentors. And we can look at, you know, younger people like Foreplay Clarinet and their content, right? They're paving the way for people who have an appreciation for pop music and who want to create and use their skill levels as clarinetists to create something unique and just embrace themselves in this you know, different type of moment and different type of music. So I think that we need to not be afraid. I know, Sean, I will completely admit that I spend way too much time on Twitter, and it is a very toxic place in some ways. But you have to shut that stuff out. And we're not here to look at the stuff that's really toxic, and it's a trap, to be honest. So you really need to embrace the people who are there to support you and who celebrate what you do. And I think someone else mentioned, try not to get hung up on the negative comments that you receive, because people are willing to say anything to you. They'll tell you that they hate everything that you do. And you're like, what did I just made a video. Why are you so mad at me? Right? So you have to push that to the side and keep moving forward and focus on the things that are positive in what you're doing. And if you find joy in what you're doing, that's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter how many people you reach. If you're really, truly enjoying it, it's worth it. Do it.
To add to that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I heard someone once say, it was a podcast about cigars, actually, which I don't know why I was listening to it. Oh yeah, it was the Bovida podcast. They make the Bovida humidity packs. They're gonna be coming on the show soon for Clarinet. And I wanted to check out some of their other episodes, and they had one about cigars, and because Bovida packs also work with cigars and guitars and whatever else. But they said, the person they were interviewing said that if you create something that everybody likes, it's not something that anyone will love. And I really like that, because it's true. You know, even great music. I mean, not everyone loves Radiohead somehow, and but that's, you know, I love it, and a lot of people love it. And whatever you love, you can find people everywhere who don't like it. That peach analogy or whatever from Gabby earlier, right?
I want to take this opportunity to thank every single person on this panel. This has been a really great discussion. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise, and all the wonderful recommendations that you've given everyone. I want to thank everyone that has watched and chatted and joined the community throughout this entire weekend. This is the last event for ICA Plays On. As Jessica and I said before, we're trying to make events like this more regular. So if anyone has any advice, feedback, suggestions, anything at all, Jessica and I said we could take the criticism. Any feedback at all, you can email me, assistant@clarinet.org, Jessica, EDO@clarinet.org. You can message the ICA on Instagram or on Facebook to get in touch with us. But any feedback is more than welcome. We appreciate every single person for making this weekend just really wonderful. Does anyone else have anything to say? Jessica, did I forget anything?
And be sure, if you haven't checked out the virtual exhibit hall, take a look. We'll be taking that down in the middle of next week, but we want to give everybody a chance to check out all the wonderful vendors that would have been seeing you in person in Clarinet Fest. And yeah, if you're not a member of the ICA, we would love to have you. And if you are financially strapped and would still like to join, please send me an email at edo@clarinet.org and we'll help you. We'll get you there. We want you to be a part of our community. Please check out every one of the panelists that are here today. And also, we'll be compiling all of the research that was mentioned for any of the other panels. All of the resources will be in a document. We'll have our YouTube video links, and we'll send you an email in the middle of the week to get you all that information, as well as a feedback survey. And we please, as Jenny said, give us any feedback, things that didn't work, things that you think could be improved, other things that you want to talk about. And we're going to start setting up those conversations as soon as maybe 2 weeks from now, hopefully getting more and more conversations on the regular for ICA. So yeah, thank you all so much. We couldn't have had this event without these wonderful panelists. So please thank them and thank the ICA for supporting this and helping us get it going, and the board of directors for pushing us to have this. So thanks to Mitch Estrin and Denise Gainey and Caroline Hardig and just everybody, Chris Nichols and Todd Kerstetter, all on our board, Eddie Venestoiza, our new president, vice president international, excuse me. Yeah, everybody on the board, everybody on the staff, and yeah, thank you. This has been such a wonderful and inspiring 3 days for me, and I hope it has been for you as well.
Let's keep the inspiration
Thank you too
going
for having us.
strong. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.